Have you ever experienced a time when you faced a severe test? A test you wanted no part of facing, yet you knew you had to do it. You also knew that how you handled the situation was going to determine the course of your future. And even though you didn't want to face things, you had to do it. So you did. And you not only survived, but the outcome proved to be far more important than you could have imagined it could be. I want to tell you the story of just such an experience. I call it, "Look, Wanda, I caught one." It was our first great test. The gangs, drug dealers, and pimps of the Short North District hated us. They vandalized our property, threatened us, and on more than one occasion tried to kill us. The people of the streets thought we were undercover cops, so they ran from us. The cops, in turn, thought we were drug dealers or thugs, so they followed us, and that didn't do much for our popularity either. We were at a critical juncture. We needed a win in the worst kind of way. We needed to demonstrate that we had the right to be there and that we were there to stay. Without saying a word to anyone, I slipped out of our center at 1129 North High Street and ventured down the street alone. It was mid-July, and even though it was well after 10 p.m., the record heat and humidity were almost unbearable. As I walked down the sidewalk, I sensed a number of nervous eyes were watching me. After all, the people thought I was a cop, and the cops thought I was a drug dealer. And at the corner of Star and High, there was a Kentucky Fried Chicken, along with an area of benches that were frequented by male prostitutes who were looking for a date. They knew how to work the street, and they could become pretty aggressive. I stopped at the corner, and I leaned against the light pole there. My presence wasn't good for their business, so hoping to intimidate me, they began to heckle me. I knew the situation was volatile. I knew it was potentially dangerous. And I also knew that this was a test I had to pass. I uttered a prayer under my breath. God, I know you sent me here, and I ain't moving till you do something. If I eat my Christmas dinner standing on this corner, I ain't moving till you do something. One of the most aggressive of the people there was a young man named Tim Stone. I had seen Tim before, and though I didn't really know him, I knew him to be dangerous. Tim was the bodyguard for David Lee Drake. David Lee Drake was the most notorious transvestite prostitute in the city. And Tim stood guard while David, dressed as a woman, had sex with men in order to make certain that no one killed David. Getting right up in my face, Tim snarled, "So what's a dick like you doing here?" "Tim, I'm not a cop." Shocked that I knew his name, Tim took a step back and replied, "So, who are you?" Sensing an opportunity, I said, "You look like you could use something to eat. Let's go in the KFC. I'll buy, and I'll tell you about why I'm here." His not having had dinner was just a safe bet, and I knew the presence of food would make him a captive audience. So while he ate his fill of chicken, I told Tim that there is a God who is not here to condemn him, but instead here to love him. And I told him that all God wanted from him was for him to allow God to accept him and embrace him. Tim couldn't believe that God would ever accept him. He had mugged, stabbed, and robbed people. Then there was the sex traffic. And he had even witnessed human sacrifice. Yes, in Columbus, Ohio. I told Tim that God wanted so much to embrace him, that God had even sacrificed his own son, Jesus, as payment for the sins of all mankind. I told him that he could experience God's embrace by accepting Jesus as his Lord. Tim responded, "But man, where could I ever go? I'm a marked man, dude." "Tim," I said, "if you will just allow God to embrace you, He won't leave you where He found you. If you will let Him, He will take you places that you could never go on your own." Well, taking his weapons out of his pockets and giving them to me, Tim responded, "Man, why wouldn't I do that?" Right there in the KFC, with weapons on the table, Tim and I prayed together. Then the reality of something that I had not anticipated became obvious. Tim intended to go with me. That hadn't been my plan, but not knowing what else to do, I took Tim home to my house. Now you can only imagine Wanda's reaction when I showed up at 3 a.m. with Tim in tow. "Look, Wanda, I caught one." Well, even though I'm pretty certain she wanted to kill me, she managed to smile and said, "Come on in, Tim. How about some ice cream?" Tim lived in our basement for several weeks until God provided another place for him to go, a place where he could make a clean start of things. Tim gained a fresh start on a new life. Our work in the short north gained a foothold in the community, and it was a foothold that we would not relinquish. People were learning why we were there. And even though our resolve would be tested many times, people began to know that we were there to stay. How's it going for you? Could you use a fresh start? Or maybe just a refreshing? Wherever you are on the journey of life, it's okay. It doesn't matter if you are the king or queen in a palace or a pauper in the pit. It really is okay. The reason it's okay is because God will embrace you regardless of where you are or what you have done. He accepts you right where you are. Tim had done unspeakable things and witnessed horrors that were all too real. And just as God accepted Tim right where he was, He wants to embrace you right where you are. And just like Tim, God loves you far too much to leave you where He finds you. If you will allow Him to lead you, God will take you places that you could never go on your own. My name is Steve Campbell. I'd like to visit with you about your journey of life. Please drop me an email on the address on your screen or tag me through Facebook. Tell me about your journey of life, where you are currently on that journey, where you would like to be. Let's just talk about it some. I look forward to hearing from you. Hopefully I'll hear from you soon. And I'll see you next time on the journey of life. Thanks for watching. Blessings to you.